Hi, welcome to another tale from Surgeons Hall. I'm Ken Donaldson, the Senior Research Fellow in Surgeons Hall Museums. Today I want to talk about this lung which shows pleural mesothelioma. As you can see, the lung is encased in white tumour tissue in a very distinctive way, and the only normal lung tissue is the dark area in the centre. Although we think of pandemics as being about infection, in fact a pandemic is defined as any disease that affects an entire country or the world. And there's no doubt that asbestos caused a number of pandemics of disease across the globe. Unlike most dusts which are compact, that is roughly round, asbestos is a fibre formed during crystallization and cooling in the Earth's crust. So asbestos fibres particles are long and thin, unlike the compact shape of most particles in dusts. Asbestos fibres get readily released into the air when asbestos is being handled or worked, and the fibres are small enough to enter the lungs during normal breathing, like tiny javelins, and they deposit in the lungs. And there they can cause scarring of the gas exchange regions, or they cause cancer of the lung, which is identical to the cancer caused by smoking, which is bronchial carcinoma. This lung shows a very different cancer called, as I said before, pleural mesothelioma. The fibrous nature of asbestos imbues it with properties which are very valuable to industry and construction. It conducts heat and electricity, so it's very useful as an insulating material and fire retardant. Introduced at about 15% into concrete and board, it makes the material very tough and less likely to crack. And so asbestos was introduced into buildings in many forms, as I said, as concrete, as insulation material, as paint, in the first half and the middle of the 20th century. People are exposed to asbestos fibres as they worked mining, manufacturing, installing, maintaining and demolishing buildings. As a consequence, there were pandemics of disease caused by asbestos across the globe, including scarring, asbestosis, lung cancer, bronchial carcinoma, and this disease which I'm talking about today, which is mesothelioma. The pleura is the tissue that is on the outside of the lung. You can kind of think of it as the skin on the outside of the lung, wrapped around it. And it's quite unusual for pathology to develop there, although at one time, before antibiotics were developed, infection of the pleura was relatively normal. The reason that asbestos causes mesothelioma seems to be that the fibres, long fibres, get trapped there. Most dusts are cleared up the way. Once they land in the lung, they're cleared up on what's called the mucosal escalator and swallowed. Or they enter the lung and they can cause disease there in the airways and in the alveoli. But fibres seem to pass through the lung until they reach the pleura. And there, the small fibres leave the pleura through the normal drainage system of the fluid, whereas long fibres get trapped there. They cause irritation that culminates in scarring and eventually, in some people, in mesothelioma. The presence in the pleura of mesothelioma gives the disease this peculiar and specific appearance that you see here, with the white cancer wrapped around the lung, constricting the normal tissue that's left in the middle. Asbestos is now banned in most countries, but we must remain vigilant in case new materials that are developed that have a fibrous shape might persist in the lungs in the way asbestos did and cause lung diseases similar to the ones asbestos caused.